The following is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Southwest.
Well, it was great to finally get the inning. The bust out, 10 men to the plate kind of inning that puts a game away. Yeah, it was nice to see it happen at Rangers Ballpark as well. Not the year Rangers needed it, though, as the Arms shut down the Mariners with a league-high tying third shutout of the year. We'd like another perfect combination of offense and pitching tonight as your Rangers and the Mariners go at it again. It is a comfortable but blustery evening at Rangers Ballpark in Arlington. The Rangers coming in at 10-6, trying to make it 2 in a row over the Mariners here in the friendly confines of Arlington. And welcome in, everyone, along with Tom Greaves, Steve Busby. Delighted you could join us on this Saturday night. And Rangers had a breakout game, as we mentioned last night. They're looking for another one, and it looks to be in the hands of the offense. Last night they got it done. And a big part of that offense has been one of the newest Rangers. That's Lance Berkman.
No doubt about it, Buzz. And the offense really hasn't clicked yet this year the way it's capable of and the way it will. But one guy that's off to a fast start is Lance Berkman. The only thing that you worry about are his knees. If they stay healthy, then you know he can hit. The other thing he brings to the order is patience in the middle of the lineup. His on-base percentage is over 50%. Didn't play in Chicago because of the freezing cold weather. But when it warms up, if his knees stay healthy, this is pretty much what you're going to see all season long. And that's what the Rangers need in the middle of their lineup.
And so far, even though it's been a small sample, the Rangers have gotten exactly what they needed from Lance Berkman. It'll be a rematch of last Sunday afternoon's game up in Seattle. It'll be Nick Tepish and Brandon Maurer tonight. Game 2 of this 3-game weekend set. Coming up next from Arlington, it's the Rangers and the Mariners on Fox Sports Southwest. Is brought to you by Ford. Take the EcoBoost Challenge at your Texas Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. Buy the wireless receiver only from AT Uber. Visit AT&T.com/freeyourtv. Rethink possible. Buy Progressive. Visit Progressive.com today. And buy a reminder for Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Designate a driver. Now clear skies overhead. The wind zipping in from center field. And before we get things underway, let's send it down to Emily Jones. Emily?
Well, fellas, Nick Tepesch making his third career start. He's 1-1 with a 3.46 ERA. A pretty great start to his rookie season. 10 strikeouts to just 3 walks. Ron Washington looking for more of the same in start number 3.
Continue to do, as I always say with the pitchers, keep us in the ball game, you know, and tonight I hope he can get his sinker working, and if he can get his sinker working, those guys on the infield have a lot of work, and I know they can pick up the ball, and that means we're staying in the ball game, and that giving us a chance to maybe pull it out and win.
Ron Washington with tonight's Geico quote of the game, and one thing that doesn't seem to be an issue with Nick Tepesch, nerves. He seems to be cool as a cucumber here in the early goings of his major league career. We'll see if it continues tonight, guys.
All right, Emily, thank you. Well, he's from Blue Springs, Missouri, so it's show me. And Nick is about ready to show us all what he's got going here. Here's the lineup that he'll face tonight. Franklin Gutierrez, the center fielder, leads off. Kyle Seager is at third base. Kendrys Morales back in the DH slot. He hits third. Batting cleanup, Michael Morse, the right fielder. Justin Smoke is at first base. Raul Ibanez in left field bats sixth. Jesus Montero back behind the plate tonight. Dustin Ackley bats eighth and plays second. And the shortstop is Brendan Ryan.
And our Budweiser scouting report for Nick Tepesch. He's had 2 solid starts. 3.46 ERA, a lot of ground balls, especially in his first start. He had 16 of them in his first start. Sunday against this Mariners team, he pitched into the 6th inning, gave up 4 runs, pitched pretty well in that game. Not quite as well as he did against Tampa Bay. Pitched into the 8th inning in that game and only gave up 1 run.
Gutierrez leading off. They had the pitches hammered down the left field line, but it's hooked and goes into the seats, the first row, out of play. Gutierrez, who did not start last night's ball game, hitting .255, 4 home runs. 3 of them, by the way, have led off ball games for the Mariners. Well, this is one guy like Kinsler that you really need to be aware of power-wise when he's leading off the ball game against you. Next pitch, the 0-2 delivery is just outside. Nick Tepesch, 24 years of age. Out of the University of Missouri. Spent 3 years down at Columbia. Called strike 3. Frozen at home plate like last month's popsicle.
Well, he threw him kind of a strikeout slider on the 0-2 pitch, and Gutierrez was able to lay off it. Then he threw him a kind of a high strike with a slider. Gutierrez didn't look like he liked the call very much. Well, it looked like he caught the upper part of the strike zone, outside corner. Pretty good pitch. Good start for Nick. One thing so far that you like about Nick, he's not a rookie pitcher that you're hoping can get you through 5 innings and 100 pitches. He throws a lot of strikes, throws a lot of sinkers, gets a lot of ground balls, and hopefully that'll continue to allow him to pitch deep into the games.
And first ball swinging. Kyle Seager continues his hot stroke as he singles into right field with 1 out, base hit. Now the defense tonight, Murphy, Martin, and Cruz left, center, and right. Moreland back at first. Kinsler and Andrews up the middle. Adrian Beltre at third. A.J. Pierzynski behind the plate. Nick Tepesch on the hill. Eric Cooper calling the balls and strikes. Angel Hernandez, the crew chief, is at first. Doug Eddings is second. John Tumpain is over at third. So 1 on, 1 out. Here is Kendrys Morales. Sinker is just a bit outside for ball 1. Morales had the start last night at first base. That .262 average, and that is the highest average in this starting lineup. The Seattle club hitting just over 200 as a team, 220, and that is dead last in the American League. Morales, one of the players brought in this by a trade to help the middle of that order. 5-game hitting streak for the switch hitting designated hitter. 2 balls, no strikes as Tepesch checks first. Got away with a hanging breaking ball as Morales fouls it back.
Yeah, that's a pitch he could hit a long way. Just got underneath it and fouled it off. And it was a slider. It was 2-0. Might have been looking for a fastball.
Seager
probably was.
Yeah, Seager saw just one pitch and he laced that into right field. 2-1. Tepesh back to the plate. Good tailing fastball. It's 2-2. And a little extra giddy up on that one.
And movement took it right out of the strike zone.
Yep. Seager the lead from first, and Tepesh will drive him back. Tepesh, a very good athlete. He has excellent moves around the mound. Good pickoff moves to first and second. Fields his position well. He is set again, and the 2-2. High in the air to right field. Nelly Cruz easily toward his left and in a few steps. That's out number 2. And Morales had that pitch get in on him pretty good, and he skies out. That'll bring up Michael Morse.
And Nick, in both his starts, has thrown over 100 pitches, 104 pitches in one game, 102 pitches in the other. And together that adds up to 13 innings pitched. Not quite 7 innings per start, up more than 6 innings per start. I think if every 2 starts he can end up with 13 innings pitched, the Rangers will be pretty happy.
Michael Morse back in the lineup. You'll remember in that series against the Rangers in Seattle. He fouls that pitch off. Tanner Scheppers came up and in and hit him on the right hand, broke his little pinky, and he was forced to miss the next 3 games. But he is back in there. However, been having a little bit of a problem getting back on stride with his bat. Oh, for his last 9 with a couple of strikeouts. The 0-1 pitch. Sham shot. That's behind home plate and out of play. And the count is 0-2. Michael Morse, a big guy, and he was finally came into his own as part of the Washington Nationals club. Mariners really felt good about getting him back. Good crowd on hand here tonight. They are hoping for an inning-ending pitch from Nick Tepesh. Instead, they get a little toss to first base. Seager stepping off a lead. It's a very modest one. The 0-2 is hit a long way, but foul down the right field line. And we'll come back and try it at no balls and 2 strikes. Morse has not had a home run in the last 10 days. He hit 6 in the first 8 games of the season.
Yeah, still tied for the league lead with those 6 home runs.
He and former Ranger Chris Davis.
Chris had a bunch right off the bat, too.
Sure did. Got him swinging. Good breaking ball, and Tepesh gets a couple of punch outs for the Mariners. No runs, a hit, 1 left. Half inning in the books. Mariners nothing. Rangers coming up. Fox Sports Southwest. Put this lineup together. It's brought to you by First Financial Bank. Ian Kinsler, the second baseman, leads off. Elvis Andrus is next. He's followed by the DH Lance Berkman. Adrian Beltre bats cleanup. He's the third baseman. A.J. Pierzynski bats fifth and catches. The right fielder is Nelson Cruz. David Murphy hitting seventh, plays in left field. Mitch Moreland back in the lineup, hitting eighth, playing first base. And the center fielder tonight, Leonis Martin.
On the mound, Brandon Maurer. Numbers don't look good, and if you add up all three starts, he was the Southern League most outstanding pitcher. That's a Double-A league last year. But against the Rangers, he had a nice ball game. 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, and 5 strikeouts. So you don't go by the overall numbers. He had one start where he got knocked out in the first inning, and with a small sample size, that can skew the earned run average. He's got good stuff, and just a matter of whether he can command it and see if he can do it in this park like he did in Seattle.
Misses with that pitch. It's a bit low to Ian, and the count is even at 1-1.
He had a good sinking fastball and a good slider against the Rangers.
There's that slider, and that darts outside. It's 2 balls and a strike. Maurer got off to a horrendous start this year, as did a couple of other starters for the Mariners, but Maurer was the one that they elected to keep in the rotation. A little tapper foul off of Jesus Montero, the catcher, and that will even the count at 2-2. Derek Wedge felt that the organization made a commitment to Maurer, and they had to leave the young man in there and let him go ahead, and if it took getting some lumps to enhance his development, they would do that. And he responded, as you said, Tom, with that his first victory over the Rangers, a well-pitched ball game.
Yeah, that wasn't a fluke. He had good stuff that day.
The 2-2. Ian just spoiling a tough pitch down and away. Another slider. And we'll come back and try it again. Let's see from that shot we had in center field. His slider is not one that goes straight across. It's not a horizontal plane. It's got some downward break to it also. Kinsler fouls that one high in the air to the right and well back into the seats. There are your home run leaders, and Morris and Davis still tied. Now Aaron Sevilla has joined them with 6. Ian Kinsler with 5, and a few other players tied in there with 5. Inside and low, the count to Ian now has gone full. So Kinsler trying to get aboard to start off the Ranger first inning. He'll be followed by the Rangers shortstop, Elvis Andrus. Maurer, a big guy at 6'5", about 230. Payoff pitch is low and outside, ball 4. And there's the leadoff walk. Now we'll take a look at the supporting cast behind Brandon Maurer tonight. Defensively, Ibanez, Gutierrez, and Morse left, center, and right. Smoke at first, Ackley and Ryan up the middle. Seager at third, Montero the catcher, and Brandon Maurer, the 22-year-old right-hander from Southern California, is on the hill. Now here's Elvis. Not going to mention that Elvis has been hitting the ball sharply, but has nothing to show for it. I don't want to jinx him. We'll just
I don't think he's worried about the jinx. I think he thinks it can't get much more of a jinx.
First ball swinging, that's popped up into shallow left. Ryan going out, the shortstop makes the call on the catch. Elvis trying to be proactive about it, going after that first pitch, and pops it up.
Yeah, he got a tough pitch too. Probably not a strike. It was up and it was tailing in. Tough pitch to handle right there.
No, 1 gone, and that'll bring up the Ranger DH Lance Berkman. Berkman at .385 and that .500 on base percentage tells you he is as patient as ever at the plate. A lifetime on base percentage over .400 as he takes a strike on the outside corner. Lance, though, been battling along with the rest of the ball club. The cold weather, I think, more than anything on the last road trip kind of got to everybody. Lance sat out the 2 games in Chicago, but played in Seattle, and that knee of his became a little bit balky from time to time. Sure, he's extremely glad to be back where the climate is a little more temperate. Kinsler, a pretty good lead at first. Pitch to Berkman, low and inside, a nice backhand stop by Montero. Ball was headed for the backstop. Montero able to pluck it out of thin air with that glove. Justin Smoke, the first baseman, holding the bag against Kinsler, and Dave Anderson, the Ranger first base coach, with that stopwatch, the ever-present stopwatch over there. A ball and a strike to count. Mauer a check of first and misses low. It's 2-1.
Mauer is kind of an unlikely kid to be in the big leagues this early. He was a 23rd round draft choice, a high school pitcher from California. And he's very young, a little over 300 minor league innings. Relatively quick for a high school kid to get to the big leagues.
Ripping a foul ball by Berkman. It's 2-2. Carl Willis, the pitching coach. Eric Wedge, the skipper.
He's in the rotation. Blake Bevan, who was in the rotation last year for Seattle, had a couple of starts this year. He's now a long man in the bullpen, kind of waiting for another turn in the starting rotation.
Mauer ready. There goes Kinsler. The pitch is inside, and Montero can't get the handle on the ball, so Kinsler sliding into second with the stolen base.
Yeah, it was a tough pitch to throw on. It was down and in to the left-hand hitter. Montero had to reach down across his body, and he was going to have a hard time making a throw anyway. A throw quickly enough to get Ian.
Well, Kinsler with his second stolen base of the year, and ball 4 is inside. Berkman waits out the walk, and there are 2 aboard with 1 out for Adrian Beltre. Well, Mauer getting himself in a bit of hot water here, and Adrian Beltre going to step in and see if he can make him pay for his wildness here in the first inning.
Yeah, so far this year, wildness has not been a problem. In 12 2/3 innings, he'd only walked a couple of batters already. With only 1 out in the first inning, he's walked that many.
And Beltre takes a knee-high strike. Yeah, I probably shouldn't characterize his wildness. He hasn't been wild. He hasn't pitched to the middle of the strike zone very much. He's trying to get guys to swing at pitches just out of the strike zone. And both Kinsler and Berkman refuse to do that. And when they're going well, that's the kinds of hitters they are. And that may be something that Brandon Mauer hasn't dealt very much with at the big league level. Long hold, look at second, and now time called. Home plate umpire Eric Cooper is throwing his hands up in the air. Apparently Adrian Beltre had asked for and was granted timeout. See, Adrian still trying to get things going with runners in scoring position. And a breaking ball is in there. It's 0-2. Mauer set. And the pitch chopped foul by Beltre. Adrian taking a swipe at that left foot.
Yeah, I don't know what would hurt more, fouling one off your foot or slamming the bat against your foot like he does.
If you missed what you were aiming at and hit your ankle, I know which one would hurt worse.
Hit the side of your shoe, you're all right.
Kinsler second, Berkman at first. The 0-2 to Beltre. Hit well to right center field. Gutierrez, though, going toward the alley and cut off in front of his Morris. He makes the catch. Kinsler tags at second and moves up to third on the fly ball. That is out number 2. And it puts runners at the corners for A.J. Pierzynski.
Well, A.J. had a big hit last night with the bases loaded. Blooped one into left field for a couple of runs. AJ's off to a good start. Catching a lot, too. Not many days off early in the season for AJ. Of course, the Rangers have had a lot of off days. It's not like they're playing every day. They had the rain out. They've had some scheduled off days. And the weather's been cool, so it hasn't really been a hardship for AJ to catch as many games as he's caught because the off days in between.
And as you know, Tom Wash had mentioned before the ball game that Giovanni Soto will catch tomorrow. AJ the day off, and a scheduled day off for Brzezinski. The pitch is just off the outside corner to AJ. It's 1 ball and no strikes. As you saw, 286 the average. But the last week or so of games have not been kind to Brzezinski. In the air down the left field line, long run for Ibanez toward the line and makes the catch in fair territory. So the Rangers get a couple of walks, but Strand a pair. We're going to the second inning. Rangers nothing, Mariners nothing on Fox Sports Southwest. I was just talking a little bit about hitting. Dave Magadan and Lance Berkman. Before we go to the second inning, let's welcome in Jim Knox. Jim.
I appreciate it, Buzz. Great crowd here at the ballpark. Ranger fans, they got their gloves looking for a foul ball. Community Corner tonight, we're talking about West Texas officials. Wanted to thank Ranger fans for all their donations so far. You know, a lot of people are donating a lot of great items to West Texas citizens this weekend here at the ballpark. They're asking tomorrow if Ranger fans come, please donate cash. Also, a big blood drive will be taking place here at the ballpark tomorrow for the fine citizens of West Texas. So come on out, support the Rangers as well as West Texas. Buzz?
All right, Jim, thanks very much. And Justin Smoke starting things off here in the top of the second. Very quickly, Nick Tepish in front of the count. No balls and 2 strikes.
Yeah, good start for Nick. 16 pitches, 13 strikes so far.
Call strike 3.
Make it 14. Boy, those were some tough pitches.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. And Smoke becomes the 3rd strikeout victim for Nick Tepish.
Well, he throws the 0-2 pitch. It's not a waste pitch. It's right down where he wanted to throw it, right on the inside corner, and borderline pitch. Definitely had a little bit of the plate. 3 good strikes right there from Nick.
The 1 gone. Here is Raul Ibanez, left fielder. And the veteran left-handed hitter takes a strike on the outside corner. Ibanez just 182. Couple of home runs, 5 driven in. Fouls the next pitch back. Oh, Nick Tepish going out and getting ahead of hitters very quickly.
16 out of 19 strikes.
5 games this year. Ibanez does have the home run. Only 3 hits. To the right side. Portland will underhand to Tepish covering, and Ibanez hustling down the line made it close. But that is out number 2.
Yeah, Ibanez playing every day for Seattle. He's 41 years old, but he's in good shape. And he plays hard. He's always been we've never had him with the Rangers, but just watching him play and hearing people talk about him, sounds like a great teammate. He's playing on a lot of good teams, and he's still playing every day at his age. It's pretty good shape to be in, to be able to do that.
Jesus Montero, the hitter, up the middle. It is off of Tepish, and he is holding his right hand and shaking it, and the ball out into right center field. And just like that, Jamie Reed, Mike Maddox, and Ron Washington out to take a look at Tepish, and that does not look good.
No, that ball didn't just glance. That ball changed direction, and it was a rocket that went back at him at probably 95 miles an hour. And it's one thing if it glances off and shoots right straight into center field, but that hit hard enough to glance off towards second base. That'd be a shock if he's able to stay in the game after taking that off the hand.
Yeah. And it looked like it got him somewhere from the wrist down to the finger, somewhere in the hand itself. And it's one thing if you get hit on the inside of the forearm or something like that, but that looked like it was right down the hand, fingers. He's going to take a ball and see if he can throw.
If he can, it's pretty remarkable.
And you can see where the ball hit him on that wrist. Got him on the wrist bone. He's cut the skin. Just on the inside, right above his right thumb. And he's saying, it's okay, let's go.
It might be one of those things, Buzz, where the adrenaline's flowing and he gets through this inning, but don't you think it's going to maybe affect him as time goes on?
Yeah, they're going to have to get some ice on that pretty quickly. And boy, he was lucky it wasn't worse than that. Seeing that come back, he had no time to avoid that ball. Boom. Yeah, they'll get some ice on it, and whatever swelling will pop up, and then you have a problem sitting down for the half inning.
Wow, I don't even like looking at that.
Nope. Yep, there's just above the wrist itself on the inside of that arm. And if you're going to get hit somewhere, that may be it sounds terrible, as good a place to get hit as you can.
They're either going to get someone throwing or they're bringing someone in. Mike Maddox is looking down in the bullpen.
And want Derek Lowe to get going. There's a look at the skin, the hide torn off his arm. So they're making the determination whether they want to take a chance on leaving Nick in.
I don't think so.
Doesn't look like it the way they're talking about right now. Now here comes, looks like Derek Lowe making his way in. So it will be the 39-year-old veteran right-hander Derek Lowe coming on. He will inherit Montero at first, and 2 outs here in the second inning, and Nick Tepish literally knocked out of the ball game. Montero shot off that right wrist, and other than what we've been able to see, when we get more information on it, the initial diagnosis, will certainly pass it along to you as quickly as possible. So Nick Tepish finished, goes inning and 2/3 here tonight. And a fairly sizable crowd giving him a nice standing ovation as he walks off to the Ranger dugout. Boy, it doesn't just rain, it pours sometimes, doesn't it? My goodness. Well, Derek Lowe is going to have as much time as he needs to get loose, and while he begins his warm-ups, we will take a timeout. We'll be right back with a scoreless ball game here in the top of the second inning. Rangers and Mariners on Fox Sports Southwest. much time as he needs to get loose. And while we have a moment here, we'll show you tonight's AT&T Twitter poll. Question tonight is, what do you enjoy most in Rangers ballpark? And the options for you, we have hashtag FS.race if you like the dot race the most, or the food, hashtag FS food, Kids Zone, or seeing Jim Knox. Did Knoxy make these up?
That's a no-brainer for me.
I agree with you.
I'm going with Jim Knox all the way on that one.
Just go on to Twitter, pick your answer, and we'll give you the results later on in the ball game.
That burger looks pretty good, but it's not quite in the same league as Knoxy. Derek Lowe coming on for his 4th game of the year, a game he didn't expect to be in, and we didn't expect to see him this soon, especially the way Nick was throwing the ball. He'd given up a couple of singles, but he'd also struck out 3, was pounding the strike zone and looking great. And we'll keep our fingers crossed that while he had to come out of this game, that there'll be no damage to his arm, and after icing it, getting some throwing in between, he'll be able to make his next start. Rangers already have, from last year, Kobe Lewis and Nefi Felice on the disabled list, Martin Perez from spring training, Matt Harrison. And boy, the last thing you need is another pitcher to miss some time. So hopefully the fact that Nick was able to throw some warm-up pitches, not able to stay in the game, but able to throw some, might give him the chance to come back in his next start. Certainly hope so.
Well, Derek Lowe on now. Last pitched on Thursday up in Chicago, and the first pitch is high and away to Dustin Ackley. Derek came in relief of Alexi Ogando that Thursday afternoon ball game at Wrigley Field. Worked 2 2/3. There's a strike to the outside corner. It is 1-1. Ackley at just 145 for the season. Goes after the next pitch and skies it to left field. Not very deep. David Murphy coming on. The wind pushing it back toward the foul line, and Murph able to glove it. So that'll do it. The Rangers did lose Nick Tepish, but the side retired with 1 hit and a runner left stranded. 1.5 gone by, no score. The Junior Rangers Club, presented by Dr. Pepper, for only $20. Junior Rangers receive a sports duffel bag, Rangers cap, ticket vouchers, and coupons, plus front of the line access to run the bases after Sunday afternoon games. Sign up at TexasRangers.com. Nelson Cruz leading off, goes after the first pitch. It's a right down the line. Nice backhanded play by Kyle Seager, and he guns him out. And Seager playing off the line a little bit, had a long way to go, but made the play well, and that's out number 1.
Seager's a good ball player. He can play third, he can play second. Not a hard hit ball, but still a nice play, and then a long throw all the way across the diamond. You can play him at either one of those positions, and he does a good job defensively. And even though he got off to a slow start the first 10 days of the season, he's starting to get hot now, and he is a good hitter.
1-0 pitch to David Murphy. Hits the inside corner. Murph, a couple of hits last night. And good to see the Ranger left fielder swatting the ball around again. Gone through some tough times. A 175 in the early going. He also drove in his 5th run of the year last night. He has fared well, as those numbers tell you, against Seattle pitching.
The Rangers have scored 62 runs. That's the 7th most in the league. That's not a spot in the standings they're accustomed to when it comes to runs being scored. Oakland scored 99 runs, 20 more than the Yankees, who were second.
Big right-hander Mauer to the wind, the payoff pitch. Line to left field, but right there Ibanez, who had shortened up from a normal depth, and he's able to handle that line drive for out number 2. Ibanez last night playing Murphy considerably deeper, but Murphy able to drop a couple in front of him, so he's shortened up tonight. Now with the bases empty and 2 outs, Mitch Moreland will step in. Mitch, given the night off last night, at least as far as the start was concerned, came in the ball game defensively in the 8th inning. Takes a little bit low for ball 1. Breaking ball, and that cuts the strike zone in half. Mitch just 1 for his last 17. You've seen that batting mark drop from 219 down to its present 163. There's a pitch inside. It's 2-1. But he's got to be happy to get back home. He had good success in the Rangers' first homestand. 333 with a couple of home runs in those 6 games. It's a little bit low, and the count goes to 3 balls and a strike. So Mitch with 2 outs trying to get aboard. If he is able to extend the inning, Leonis Martin, the center fielder, will be next. The 3-1. A pretty good rip at that fastball, and is fouled it straight back. Now it's 3-2 as Mauer comes back. Outside, ball 4. He didn't miss by much, but enough to allow Moreland to get the 2-out walk.
Tried to throw that backdoor slider, but it never quite came back to catch the outside corner. 3 walks now for Mauer.
And the number 9 man in the Ranger order, Leonis Martin, will step in. See Martin, like Gentry last night, looking for his first RBI of the year. Craig had a couple of RBI going double triple last night, and the first pitch inside to Leonis. 1 ball, no strikes. Leonis has started to pick things up just a little bit. He's gone 4 for his last 13, and that's raised his average better than 100 points. Chops this one just foul outside first. Moreland all the way down to second. He'll have to retrace his steps. And it'll be a ball and a strike to Leonis Martin. Smoke holding the bag against Mitch Moreland at first base. 1-1 the count. And Martin pops it up. Third base side, foul territory. Kyle Seager stays with it to make the catch, and that'll do it. Now the Rangers another walk, but they strand their third runner of the night. We'll go to the third inning. Rangers nothing, Mariners nothing on Fox Sports Southwest. Ron Washington's ball club trying to make it 2 wins in a row over the Mariners, who are locked up in a scoreless battle here as we go to the top of the third inning. Nice crowd on hand. Looks like it's going to be a little heftier than last night's crowd, which was just over 36,000. Very comfortable evening. The wind continuing to blow in from center field as Brendan Ryan hits a scalder out to second base, and nice backhand by Kinsler to throw out Ryan, one away. Now it's time now for a game break with Mazda. Let's go to Dana Larson. Dana. All right, Dana. Yeah, quite an emotional day at Fenway Park.
Yeah, it was. Neil Diamond flew in from California unannounced to sing Sweet Caroline. David Ortiz, Big Papi, gave an emotional speech before the game, and then they got a 3-run homer in the 8th inning to win the game. Pretty amazing.
And the masts, flags at half staff here, recognizing the tragedy in Boston, also the tragedy in West Texas. Been a week that has affected a lot of folks in this country negatively, and certainly pass along our thoughts and prayers to each and every one that was affected down in West Texas with a terrible explosion, and of course up in Boston with the tragic bombing. Pitch outside from Derek Lowe, and the count is now 2 balls and 2 strikes to Franklin Gutierrez. Derek Lowe on in relief last inning. Nick Tepesch. And let's go down to Emily Jones.
Well, guys, you were talking about the tragedy in West Texas and how the Ranger fans have responded to this, and Jim Knox alluded to it earlier. They've been so overwhelmed by the generosity of Ranger fans that they literally don't have room to take on goods anymore, all the materials they needed. So that's why they're asking for these gift cards and cash donations, and then of course the blood drive tomorrow, because they literally don't have any place to store all of the stuff that they've received. So a great outpouring of support by Ranger fans, which is no surprise, and we'd love to see it continue tomorrow through gift card and cash donations, guys.
All right, Emily, thank you. That's great advice, and well, glad to hear that. Glad to hear that kind of response, which really is no surprise. You're right about the folks in Texas. So 2 outs after the strikeout of Gutierrez, and Kyle Seager, who had a base hit back in the first inning, He takes strike one. I'm going to tell you the initial exam by Dr. Keith Meister, the Rangers orthopedist, of Nick Tepesch, said it was a contusion of the right wrist. He's icing it now, and he'll have a full evaluation tomorrow. So you get some of that swelling out of there. And with the initial evaluation by Dr. Meister, not bad. And that's about the best you can hope for. Hit to center field and hit well. Going back, Leonis Martin reaches up and makes the catch as he tumbles to the turf. What a play by Leonis Martin. Well, he and Gentry patrolling center field as well as it can be done the last couple of nights. A great play by Leonis. That sends the Mariners down in order. 2.5 in the books, no score. Rangers and Mariners on Fox Sports Southwest. Southwest is brought to you by Ford. Take the EcoBoost Challenge at your Texas Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. Ian Kinsler leading things off in the Ranger third. Scoreless ball game. A breaking ball in from Brandon Maurer. Kinsler started the game by walking. He eventually got as far as third base where he was stranded in that Ranger first inning. Ian had his second stolen base. And he was on that time. 300 the average right on the nose. 5 home runs, 11 driven in, and those are the top marks on the Ranger ball club. 5 and 11. Hard hit ball, but playing out in shallow left field. Brendan Ryan comes in to make the catch and fires to first. Well, that's an unusual alignment right there.
Well, he's playing back a little bit and over toward third base a little bit. Ian has pulled a number of balls, obviously, and you can see he's fairly deep and pulled over, which is fine if Ian hits the ball hard, but if he hits a little chopper toward the middle of the infield, then he's going to have a hard time charging it, getting there in time to make the throw.
So 1 out. See Ryan again backing up with Elvis up there. I'm not sure I've ever seen a shortstop start that far out on the grass.
No, it's one thing for the second baseman who's got a shorter throw.
Right.
But generally, you don't see the shortstop way back there.
You've got to have a lot of confidence in your arm strength. Elvis went after the first pitch he saw back in the first inning and popped out to short. The 2-0 pitch. 2-1 now. Elvis hitless in his last 10 times to the plate, and he hits a ground ball to short. 2 gone. Brendan Ryan is taking care of both ground balls this inning, and now Lance Berkman will step up. Elvis trying to get that feel back of what he wants to do. Berkman, like Kinsler, drew a walk in the first inning. First pitch to him is low and inside for ball one. Lance, a .394 hitter from the left side of the plate, .333 from the right side.
Morrow really hasn't had pinpoint command. He's thrown 24 strikes, 21 balls. He's walked 3. But the Rangers haven't had a hit off him, so he's still tossing a 0 up there at the Rangers.
One pitch. That's a little bit low, and it's 2 balls and a strike. And Mauer, 21 pitches the first inning, 16 the second. And ball 3. Coors Light, cold hard facts for you. Since 2004, Berkman .991 on base plus slugging in April is the highest among active players. Highest on base plus slugging percentages. He goes after that 3-1 pitch, and it's a towering pop foul over his Seager near the dugout and makes the catch. No, the first time tonight the Rangers have gone down in 1-2-3 fashion. We'll go to the 4th inning in Arlington. Rangers nothing, Mariners nothing on Fox Sports Southwest.
Right here, 10,000 kids, 13 and under, receive this very nice Adrian Beltre t-shirt. That's right, 13 and under. Come on out to the ballpark, 10,000 kids tomorrow. We're going to give this one to you, big guy, all right? All right, what do you say?
Thank you.
Thank you, big guy. All right, way to go. There we go. Like the suit. Very nice. Checkerboard. Thank you.
Well, while that was going on, Kendrys Morales took a dim view of being hit by the first pitch that he saw from Derek Lowe.
It probably hurt, but it wasn't a fastball. He knows it wasn't intentional. Last thing Derek's going to do in this kind of a game is hit the leadoff hitter. But the slider cutter got away from him a little bit and hit him right in the ribs. 84 miles an hour.
Now Michael Morse, and he looks at strike 1. Morris, a strikeout victim back in the first inning. In case you're just joining us, Nick Tepesch went through an inning and 2/3 with 3 strikeouts and a couple of hits. Was hit by a line drive off the bat of Jesus Montero. Sustained a contusion on his right wrist, and he was forced to lead the ball game. Derek Lowe has come on and done a very good job. The only base runner so far was the hit batter. Morales at first, No balls, 2 strikes, the count to Morse. Could be a double play grounder. Elvis, Ian, 6-4-3. Just exactly what the sinker ball Derek Lowe was looking for.
Oh, he's got a good sinker ball working too. The pitch before that was a sinker down and in that Morse swung and missed at. And this is a sinker down and in that jammed him a little bit, led to the ground ball and a simple double play for the Rangers. And that's what you love to see from Derek. When he's having the ball sink like that, he can get a lot of quick outs.
And that is the 19th double play that the Mariners have grounded into this year. That's the 12th turned by the Rangers. The base is empty, 2 gone. Justin Smoke up there, and Smoke called out on strikes as he led off the second. Rolls over on this one and taps it up the middle. Kinsler on the run, fires the first, and that'll do it. With a leadoff hit batter. No consequence, the double play takes care of it. Bottom of the 4th coming up. Rangers nothing, Mariners nothing. Beltre, Brzezinski, and Cruz coming up. Right here on Fox Sports Southwest for Chevy Hometown Kids. It's not about the score, it's about the experience. Kids having a pretty good experience out here tonight. Seeing a well-pitched ball game on both sides as the Rangers come to bat in a scoreless game. The only 2 hits of the evening belong to the Mariners. Adrian Beltre starting things off. Beltre skied to right field back in the 1st inning. Brandon Maurer getting ready for the 50th pitch of the night. And it is low and outside for ball 1. Maurer back to the plate. Oh, Adrian had a good rip at that fastball away from him and fouled it straight back. You give a power hitter like Adrian the chance to extend his arms when he's on a pitch, and you're asking for some trouble. There's one fouled at home plate. That one ran in on Beltre.
And when he keeps the ball down like that, his ball really sinks.
Yeah. Good stuff. You can see why the Mariners are very high on this young man. 1-2 pitch. Got him a off-speed pitch, and that'll do it.
It's been mostly sinkers and sliders, and then that last pitch was pretty good curveball. That better than a pretty good curveball. It was a real good curveball. First strikeout. Go along with 3 walks in the ball game for Maurer.
Just have a note for you. The folks who were watching the Baylor TCU game. That game's still going on. It's in the 15th inning. 1-1 the score. thought we'd throw that out in case somebody was interested but couldn't tear themselves away from the Ranger game. Brzezinski, a fly ball to the left that ended the first inning for the Rangers. Pitch in the dirt and all the way to the backstop. 2 balls and no strikes. Mauer has told you went to high school. We went to Orange Lutheran High School, as a matter of fact, Southern California. There's a drive hit to dead center field. Going back is Gutierrez. He's at the wall. Goodbye. AT Brzezinski, his 3rd home run of the year. The Rangers lead 1-0.
That kid in center field. Gutierrez couldn't get it, but he reached over and made the catch. Dead center field for AJ. 3rd home run. Finally get somebody on the scoreboard tonight.
First Ranger hit of the night, and it does not stay in the ballpark.
Oh, he took it right out of his glove.
Now Nelly Cruz hit her, and he looks at a strike. Cruz grounded out to Kyle Seager, the 3rd baseman, his first time up.
Watch the kid in center field reach over and catch this ball. Off-speed pitch away.
Out of play to the right.
Gutierrez wasn't going to catch it. His glove wasn't in the right spot, but
yeah,
he got it over. He got his glove over the fence, though.
Do a little sigh impersonation out there too after he got that ball.
That kid's become a cult hero out there in center field, boy. Ball goes up, you better get out of his way.
Cruz gone on strikes. Pretty good slider there.
You can see Gutierrez's glove wasn't in the right place, but he was on top of the wall. Look how far Gutierrez gets up for that ball.
Yeah.
Whoa, that was close.
But in case you're wondering about interference, if it's on that side of the wall, there isn't any fan interference.
Right.
Little loop around in the left field. Ibanez coming on, makes the catch, and that'll do it. But AJ Brzezinski, with his 3rd home run of the year, gets the Rangers on the board. We'll go to the 5th. Rangers 1, Mariners 0 on Fox Sports Southwest. Night under the stars, and joining us now, You see him, the co-host of Rangers Live before and after Ranger telecast, Mark McElroy. Nice to see you along.
It is nice to be here and nice to be in much warmer weather, I'm sure, for you guys.
It's nice to see folks that don't have to wear jackets when we talk to them, too. It's great. Yeah, you didn't miss much by not being on that road trip. That was...
You know, I can definitely remember it. I know an awful lot about Seattle, so much better here.
Now, Ibanez made quick work of by Derek Lowe and Mitch Moreland.
I was so cold in Chicago, I've still got my jacket on. I'm not taking any chances.
Not till June.
That's right.
Well, the next trip has Minneapolis in there, so you may want to keep it close.
Yeah.
Now they got snowed out last week.
They did.
Yeah,
they did. Yeah.
Man.
The forecast is for snow this weekend up there too.
You guys have fun with that.
Yeah. We'll see what we can do. Oof. Jesus Montero, he was the one that hit the bullet back to the mound that knocked Tepesh out of the game. Hit him on the right wrist with that shot. Took some skin off, and from all reports so far that we've gotten from the Ranger clubhouse, it looks like Tepesh is going to escape any major damage, but that will have to be evaluated further tomorrow. It's out of play to the right.
Buzz, what's that like as a pitcher? You get a ball hit back at you. I mean, what's that feeling like?
You know, Mac, it didn't bother me during the ball game too much, but about 4 o'clock in the morning, I'd wake up in a cold sweat and I'd see that for the next 3 hours coming right back at me and not being able to do anything. You know how you have some of those, the ground ball at third that Beltre will handle. You know how you have some of those greens where you feel like you're tied up and you can't move? Well, that's what it feels like. And I was hitting a line drive at you too. You can't move. It's scary.
Well, you can see sometimes, you know, Mac, you're playing second, you're playing shortstop. A guy hits a line drive so hard it almost handcuffs you, and then cut the distance probably less than half. How far are you when you let go of the ball? 50-something feet away?
That's crazy.
You know, and you're not expecting the ball to come back at you. You're concentrating on throwing a strike, and one comes at you 95 miles an hour. That is frightening, boy.
And you got a lot of pitchers that are, well, out of position, but you know that's just their normal follow through, and you're in an awkward position. There's nothing you can do. I'd feel that way sometimes at third base, and I've got a glove, and I'm supposedly in position.
No kidding.
I can't imagine. That's why I stopped pitching, though. That reason right there. I didn't want anything coming right back at me.
Well, it makes you appreciate being able to pitch inside, so that then you can pitch outside. If you, guys that don't throw inside enough to get people aware of that ability, then they throw outside and wonder why the ball's getting lined off their shins. Ground ball, third base way. There's Beltre. An easy 1-2-3 inning. Mark McElroy, the defense, brought up to the booth and on the field.
Why they call him the doctor of defense.
Halfway through the ball game, Rangers 1, Mariners nothing. Fox Sports Southwest. Bottom of the 5th inning, having a little hilarity here in the booth. I'm giving Tom Grieve some photography lessons about new lenses.
I didn't know you could point the lens one way and take a picture the other way.
Yeah.
It's like a no-look pass.
Mitch Moreland swinging at the first pitch. Grounds out to Dustin Ackley, the second baseman. So 1 pitch, 1 away. Time for a Mazda game break. Let's visit in with Dana Larson again. Dana. All right, Dana, thank you. Yeah, that was an ugly first inning.
Wow.
Got pretty loud out there, too, the way it sounded. Porcello went 2/3 of an inning, gave up all 9. Leonis Martin takes a pitch for a strike.
That's tough on an ERA, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
This early, too?
Yeah, and that's the bad thing. You have it in April, and it sticks with you for like 3 months. At least if it's late in the season, you don't have to look at it for more than another month or so. Martin fouled out his first time up. A little pop-up to Kyle Seager. The Rangers with just 1 hit in the game, but it left the ballpark off the bat of A.J. Pierzynski. Pitch low and inside. The count goes to 3-1. Well, Leonis trying to get aboard with 1 out here in the 5th. Top of the order waits in the on-deck circle. That's Ian Kinsley. Ooh. A broken bat roller.
That would have been a better pitch to take.
Well, it's a good thing he did it when it's 65 degrees and not when it was 35. He'd be picking his fingers up out there too with the rest of the bat.
Yeah, I know how that feels. That's not a good feeling. Didn't look like it was that far down on the handle, actually.
The one thing about we were talking about this earlier in the season. We haven't seen as many bats do that this year as we did the last few years.
Right.
But I think it hurts your hands a little bit less when the bat breaks in half than it does when the bat barely cracks.
Yes, I know that feeling very well too.
then the vibration is unbearable sometimes. But for the most part, when you broke a bat, I don't know about in your career, Mac, but if you go back even farther than that, when a bat cracked, there's usually like a slight crack, you know, going up and down in the bat. In the old days, if you were home, you'd put a little tack in it, tape it up, and use it again. I never see bats break like that anymore.
No, that doesn't happen. They explode now.
Yeah.
2-1 the count to Ian Kinsler. Got a little excited there.
When times were kind of tight and it was tough to get a bat order in, and the Rangers were in that position 30 or 40 years ago, you use a bat long enough, it didn't break, the end of it would kind of flake off, and you just tape up the end of your bat kind of in the hitting zone and use it in batting practice to make it last longer. But you could use bats in batting practice forever and they wouldn't break.
Yeah, we did a lot of that. I mean, tape up the end, especially because that's where it would start fraying. Didn't crack many, didn't break many, but that BP bat would last a lot longer. Well, for me, my BP bats last a lot longer than my game bats.
3-2 the count to Kinsler. Ian trying to prolong this inning. Joe Ortiz, the left-hander, loosening in the Ranger bullpen. Bauer with the payoff pitch, and Kinsler pops it up. Shallow left field, Ryan going out, making the call. And the shortstop makes the grab. 1, 2, 3, and gone, all the Rangers. Mac, thanks very much for joining us. We'll look for you after the ball game.
All right, we'll see you, fellas.
All right, 1-0 Texas, on to the 6th. Southwest is brought to you by the all-new Mazda 6. When you change everything, you change everything. And Derek Lowe back to the hill, and he has pretty much handled things since taking over for Nick Tepesh. He has allowed one base runner. That was on a hit by pitch to Kendrys Morales. First ball swinging here in the 6th inning. Nice play. A high throw, and Moreland able to come back down on the bag. And Brendan Ryan is robbed by his counterpart, Elvis Andrus. And let's go to Jim Knox once again. Jim.
All right, thank you, Buzz. We have over 1,200 fine folks from the 911 operators on hand at the ballpark tonight. Elisa, what's this all about?
The second week of April is Dispatcher Appreciation Month, so our 911 call takers and dispatchers have been celebrating in their centers all week, and we capped off the week with this night at the ballpark.
Awesome. You guys also threw out the first pitch. That's pretty cool.
Yes, we threw out the first pitch. Reddy Fox, our mascot. We're here to say, go Rangers, and our thoughts and prayers are with the people in West.
There you go.
Go Rangers!
All right, Elisa, appreciate it, Buzz.
All right, Jim, thank you.
Derek's pitched. This ball is going to be caught. He's now pitched 4 innings and thrown 31 pitches. That hasn't happened very often.
No, it has not. And, well, it probably has to him. You know, when he gets on a roll, it just, you know, there's no sense waiting because you know what you're going to get each pitch. And Ron Washington with the left-hander coming up, Kyle Seager, and he has Joe Ortiz in the bullpen. And you could say that Derek Lowe has definitely done his job.
Well, he just pitched the other day, so he was probably on a pitch count. Let's say it was 30 or 40 pitches. Here he throws 30 pitches and pitches 4 innings. That might have been 2 innings on a bad day. Instead, he pitches 4 innings in this game on 31 pitches. What a great job. He had the sinker working today.
Yeah, and he came in and rescued the rest of the bullpen, too.
Sure did.
So, outstanding job for Derek Lowe. As I said, the only base runner was the hit batter in the 4th inning. Joe Ortiz coming on, and as he begins his warm-up tosses, we'll take a timeout. Right back after this, Fox Sports Southwest. To take over, and some pretty impressive numbers for the young man.
Yeah, one thing he's been doing is he's just been coming in, throwing strikes, and getting people out all season long. Been used frequently, not just for a third of an inning. You can tell that. 6 games and 10 innings. A couple of times he's pitched a couple of innings in the game.
Kyle Seager 1 for 2, and he looks at strike 1. Seager singled in the 1st inning and was robbed by a nice running catch out in deepest center field by Leonis Martin last time up. Now time called as Seager trying to slow down Joe Ortiz in his haste to work. Very efficient night for Derek Lowe. By the dive of Mitch Moreland out into right field, and Kyle Seager continues to swing a hot bat. He's now 2 for 3. He has a 9-game hitting streak.
Yeah, he's one of those guys who makes solid contact. He doesn't take wild swings. He's got a good eye at the plate. And when he's off to a bad start, it's just a matter of time before he gets it going again. And he's swinging the bat pretty well right now. And one of the other things that can happen is you can face some tough pitchers and see some tough pitches, and that'll put you in a slump. And then all of a sudden you start to see some good pitches to hit, and things start to turn around for you.
Yeah, the next hitter, Kendrys Morales, takes outside. He turns around to hit from the right side. Switch hitting designated hitter. Morales 0 for 2 against Joe Ortiz in the matchups this year. Ortiz misses low. 2 balls, no strikes. Morales hit by a pitch last time up. See the numbers, right-handed, not nearly as good as they are left-handed for Morales. And Ortiz uncharacteristically falling behind at 3 balls and no strikes. Ortiz with the 3-0 pitch. He throws it right down the middle. It's 3-1. Now the left-hander ready again. And ball 4. That is just the second walk issued by Ortiz this year. But down to second goes Seager. Morales at first, and now the big guy in the middle of the order. That's Michael Morse.
Yeah, not quite the pinpoint command from Joe today. He got that pitch up that Seager pulled into right field for a base hit. Definitely not where he was trying to throw it, and then couldn't locate the strike zone to Morales. Now you've got a tough guy up there in Morse.
Well, folks, starting Monday on the National Geographic Channel is a new series called Brain Games. And that will truly put your brain to the test. It's Brain Games, premiering this Monday on National Geographic Channel. The conference concluded. Mike Maddox, no doubt a very positive message left with Joe Ortiz. And now the matchup, Ortiz and Morse, will take place. 2 runners on. 2 outs here in the 6th inning. Rangers leading 1-0. Morris has grounded it into a double play and struck out. And the breaking ball hangs wide. It's 1 ball, no strikes. Ortiz okays the sign and comes set. The 1-0 pitch. Very high, 2 balls and no strikes.
Yeah, I haven't seen this kind of an outing from Joe yet. He's going to have to see if he can struggle through this without his command. He's thrown 9 pitches, 6 of them have been balls.
You can take a walk behind the mound, and Mike Maddox making the phone call down to the bullpen to get somebody up and in a hurry, probably. Not much margin for error in a 1-0 game. The 2-0 pitch. Tried the breaking ball and it stayed outside. It's 3-0. And Robbie Ross starting to throw. There's a strike. And it's 3-1. Morse tossing his bat away, and that won't garner him any favors.
Hey, the guy's got 6 home runs. He shouldn't be in such a hurry to throw the bat away and take a walk. Definitely trying to keep the ball away from him.
Eric Cooper had kind of a long look at Morse as he walked back to get his bat.
Yeah, that won't endear you to an umpire.
No. Now the 3-1 pitch is coming. Hard hit ball, but right at Elvis. Goes the short way for the force out. And Joe Ortiz finds a way to get the final out of the inning. No runs, 1 hit, 2 left. Bottom of the 6th coming up. Rangers 1, Mariners nothing. Fox Sports Southwest. Sonic Slam Inning brought to you by Sonic. Tonight's jackpot is worth $1,400 and dinner for 2 at Sonic Drive-In. Tonight the Rangers are hitting for Jerry Hassel from Gainesville. And if a Ranger hits a grand slam during the inning, Jerry Hassel from Gainesville will win $25,000. You can register at any participating Sonic restaurant. Still looking to give away the Sonic jackpot. We have not had one this year.
About time.
Well, Elvis.
That's another one of those 5-run innings right here.
That'd be good too. Elvis nubs one foul back beyond the screen and out of play. It is 2 balls and a strike. Now the Seattle bullpen left-hander Charlie Furbush is loosening. Brandon Maurer has only allowed 1 hit, but that 1 hit put him down 1-0 in this game. A.J. Pierzynski with the home run, and that has been the sum total of the Ranger offensive output tonight. 3-1 pitch, and that is a strike. So the count has gone full. Elvis trying to get aboard to start the Rangers 6th. Lance Berkman will follow. Payoff pitch. Popped up. Now the right field line. Long run for Morse into foul territory. The wind will push that one back just into the first row of seats and out of reach. Let's take a look at your Ford leaderboard. Home runs allowed in the major leagues, and as far as the Sonic Slam inning is concerned, Rangers have the right people here. Mariners have given up 24 along with the Indians to lead the majors in gopher balls. The 3-2 pitch. Slowly hit out toward short. Barehanded by Ryan. A throw, and they get him. Oh, nice play. And Tom, that was that play you're talking about that may be trouble when you're playing back deep, but Ryan made that with a bare hand.
Yeah, he made a nice play. And you know, Elvis is not having any luck on hard hit balls, and now he's not having any luck on slowly hit balls. Looked like he might have a chance for an infield hit right there, but Ryan nipped him by about a quarter of a step. Very nice play by the shortstop.
Well, great camera work there to give you folks that view that nobody else has. Umpires would die for that view before they made the call. So 1 out. Here is Lance Berkman, who is 0 for 1. And there's that slow breaking ball. And He doesn't show it very often, but Brandon Maurer has used it effectively tonight. And fastball is high, and it's 2-0 to Lance Berkman. Berkman walked back in the first and fouled out in the third inning. The 2-0 pitch in the air, left center field. Ibanez and Gutierrez. Ibanez making the call, and the catch for out number 2. Raul Ibanez. A little help in the wind, too. That kind of brought the ball back over to him a little bit, more so than toward the center fielder Gutierrez. Now Maurer will face Adrian Beltre for the third time tonight. Rip and a miss. There's that good heavy sinker and going down and into the right-handed hitter. Beltre, fly ball to right, and a strikeout his last at bat. It's this one to right center field. That's not carrying very well as Gutierrez over into the alley, makes the grab, and that will do it. Rangers go quietly. 1, 2, 3 and out. There have been 8 straight retired by Brandon Maurer. On to the 7th we go. 1-0 Texas. Reverse replay. Second inning, Nick Tepish, a line shot off of his right wrist off the bat of Jesus Montero. Forced Tepish out of the game. It brought in the turbo sinker of Gary Glow. Immediately turning the double play, and a lot of ground balls, and Glow in 4 innings of work needed only 31 pitches. And the Ford summary tonight would tell you that. Only 1 hit for the Rangers. That was Brzezinski's home run. And Joe Ortiz back to the hill now. And again, if you missed it before, the information on Nick Tepish, that's what we have, the contusion. As stated by Dr. Keith Meister. So that's all that they'll be able to tell us tonight. Tomorrow they'll do a further evaluation. And let's go down to Emily Jones for more information. Emily?
And Buzz, as I'm sure you well know, the reason for that is the fact that they need to see what kind of swelling is going to take place before they can figure out the extent of the injury and therefore determine if he's going to be available for his next start.
All right, Em, thank you. Ortiz, who came in with the bases empty in the 6th inning and 2 outs, had a little trouble, gave up a base hit, then a walk, and finally got Michael Morse to ground out to end the inning. It's a little cue shot off the bat of Justin Smoke here, and it goes foul. And Tanner Shepard's the right-hander up and loosening in the Ranger bullpen.
Yeah, Joe had a little bit of a struggle. He came in with 2 outs and nobody on, but he worked his way out of it. Got Michael Morse to hit a smash, but fortunately it was right straight at Elvis. Joe pitched a couple of days ago in Chicago, threw over 30 pitches. A pretty good workload for him coming back today.
Ahead in the count here to Smoke, who's leading off the 7th inning. Check swing, the pitch just down and in, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Smoke tonight is 0 for 2. Called out on strikes in the 2nd inning and then grounded out to second in the 4th inning. And he lays off that slider down and in. It's 2-2. Ranger fans will remember that the eye that Justin Smoke possessed, even when he first came up as a very young player, young and inexperienced. Very good knowledge of the strike zone. Pops this one up in foul territory. Mitch Moreland over there just past the coach's box. And that is out number 1. So Smoke retired. Now Raul Ibanez, the scheduled hitter, being called back, and looks like Jason Bay, the right-handed hitting outfielder, is going to be sent up as a pinch hitter. So Ibanez finished for the evening, going 0 for 2. And Jason Bay now will come off the bench as the pinch hitter.
Yeah, Bay's only pinch hit a couple of times this year, but both times he's been successful. 2 for 2 as a pinch hitter.
And we'll see if certainly the wheels are turning with Ron Washington and his coaching staff, but he's not going to opt for a change here. It would be different, I think, if Bay were the go-ahead run. He may consider taking the right-hander out of the bullpen for Bay in that case, but not so here. The first pitch is a ball inside. Bay, as you saw, a .219 hitter, and Ortiz fires a strike to even the count. Ortiz back to the plate. And a rip and a miss.
Good changeup. It's just like a fastball until he swung at it.
Well, whatever correction Joe Ortiz had to make, he certainly made and has made effectively. Call strike 3.
Fastball, changeup, fastball.
He wrapped up Bay like an old fish.
In Seattle.
Do it. In Seattle, that's right. We're down to the...
What's that fish market called?
I was just trying to think.
Pike's Place. Yeah.
There you go. Bay didn't like it, but Joe Ortiz and company loved it. Ron Washington out to the mound. That's going to do it for Joe Ortiz. He will leave after 1 inning of work. And he got a big smile on his face. Tanner Shepard's coming on. We'll be right back with him. .400 Fox Sports exclusive NASCAR coverage begins at 11:30 in the morning. And Tanner Scheppers coming out of the Ranger bullpen on now to take over here in this 1-0 game. The Rangers leading. Scheppers working to Jesus Montero, and the first pitch is outside for ball 1.
Nice record for Tanner. Be his 8th game. Hasn't given up an earned run yet.
And the breaking ball stayed high and inside. It's 2 balls and no strikes. Montero 1 for 2. That one had a big impact on this game, and on Nick Tepish, drove him out of the ball game in the 2nd inning. And Scheppers misses low and outside. It's 3 balls and no strikes. Right-hander kicks and deals. 3-0 pitch right down the middle. Scheppers, the 26-year-old out of Mission Viejo, California. He'll be out near his hometown tomorrow evening. And he misses low and outside. That's ball 4. And the tying run is aboard with 2 outs. Dustin Ackley coming up. So the last 2 relievers that Ron Washington has gone to, Joe Ortiz and Tanner Scheppers, have each had a walk in their early going in the ballgame. Ackley 0 for 2. Fly to left and grounded to third. And ball 1 is low. A.J. Pierzynski a couple of steps out in front of home plate and fires the ball back to Tanner. The 1-0 pitch coming from the Ranger right-hander. 2 balls, no strikes. Now A.J. going to go all the way out to the mound and say, hey, just work to me and make this guy swing the bat. And that again is one of those things in baseball. It's a lot easier said than done.
Yeah, he's thinking, I'm trying.
Yeah, you think I'm trying to throw ball 3? And he gets a strike at the knees there. Scheppers with a 2-1. Slap foul outside third, right behind the third base coach Jeff Datz of the Mariners. Now the count is evened at 2-2 to Ackley.
That Tanner continues to come in with his fastball and get that good tailing action with the fastball. That ball hit Ackley right off the end of the bat because of that movement that he had on his sinker.
Crowd starting to make some noise. 2-2 pitch. Grounded through the hole. A base hit to left. Stopping at second is Montero. So a walk and a single. And Brendan Ryan is going to be the hitter with 2 outs and 2 on.
A walk and a single with 2 outs. Same situation that Joe Ortiz was in the 7th inning. Tanner finds himself in right now, trying to get that 3rd out.
So Scheppers will work to Ryan. Ryan is 1 out of 2 against Tanner Scheppers. Got the tying run at second, the go-ahead run over at first. 2 outs here in the top of the 7th inning. Ryan tonight has grounded out twice. Once to second, once to short.
Oh. He wanted to swing, and then he wanted to protect himself. It looked like that ball was almost right up inside of his chin. But he started his swing so quickly, he couldn't stop his swing. And then I think in the middle of his swing, he's worried about getting hit. But I don't know how the ball missed him.
I don't either.
It looked like it should have hit him right in the shoulder.
That's what you get for trying to cheat on a fastball. Strike 2 as Scheppers tunes it up at 96.
I don't know how that ball missed him.
I don't have any idea.
It wouldn't have mattered. It would have been a strike anyway.
Yeah.
We've seen that a couple of times this year.
Boy, it would have mattered to Brendan Ryan.
It would have hurt, but it still would have been a strike. Yeah. Where a batter swings, if you get hit and swing, it doesn't count. It counts as a strike.
No balls, 2 strikes. Got him swinging. Boy, 3 heaters, and we'll see you later as Tanner Shepard pulls a Joe Ortiz, works around it. No runs, 1 hit, 2 left. 1-0 Rangers, and now let's go to Chuck Morgan as he introduces God Bless America to Rangers Ballpark in Arlington.
Pause to honor the men and women of our armed services, both at home and around the world. Tonight we invite you to join in singing God Bless America with Bridget Hammers.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Going after the first pitch from Brandon Maurer here in the 7th inning, and grounds out to Dustin Ackley. So 1 pitch and 1 away. Our Coors Light freeze camp. Speaking of AJ Pierzynski, the only Ranger hit of the night, and it landed in one of the 2 gloves in center field, and it wasn't his.
It was the right glove.
Franklin Gutierrez said, "Oh darn, just that close." And that's the difference in the ball game.
Brandon Maurer's done a great job, boy, with his sinker, slider, and a few curveballs that he's mixed in.
There's a towering drive off the Banner Cruz. Deep left field. Bay in front of the wall and has it as it comes down out of the night sky.
Well, I thought he might have had enough of it to still drive it out of the ballpark, but he got underneath it, hit it on the good part of the bat. That was one of those great swings, good pitch to hit right on the sweet part of the bat. Just got underneath it a little bit. Keep it in the ballpark.
Maybe a centimeter from hitting that thing out. So 2 gone, and David Murphy takes low for ball 1. Murph 0 for 2 tonight. He's lined to left and flied to left. That pitch a little bit low, and it's 2 balls, no strikes. Yu Darvish working on his swing. And he does that pretty well, too. I saw him taking some batting practice the other day. Swings the bat halfway decent. There's a driver right center field. Way back toward the bullpen. Goodbye. David Murphy, a solo blast. Rangers lead 2-0.
Well, that was kind of the exact opposite of the ball Nelly hit. They both hit it right on the sweet part of the bat. Nelly got underneath his just a hair, and David hit his right square in the middle and just hit a 400-foot line shot into the Ranger bullpen. That'll make you smile. Hit a ball like that.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else want to give me a high five?
And that's going to do it for Brandon Maurer. So it's one of the most unusual lines you're going to see. 2 hits, the second by David Murphy, the first by A.J. Przinsky. And he leaves the ball game trailing 2-0 on just those 2 hits. They both left the ballpark. So left-hander Charlie Furbush coming on. He will take over and to face Mitch Moreland. We'll be back at Rangers Ballpark in Arlington. Rangers 2, Mariners 0. Fox Sports Southwest. All right, Dana, thank you.
Well, those 2 teams are playing some close games. It's 3-2 the other day.
Yeah. And David Murphy, 397-foot line shot that got out of here. And now the left-hander Charlie Furbush takes over on the hill. Furbush has done an excellent job coming out of the Mariners bullpen. Left-handed specialist, more or less. And Moreland skies one to center field. That ball's carrying pretty well, but Gutierrez has room in front of the track and puts it away. So the side retired, but David Murphy leaves the yard with his 2nd home run of the year and will go to the 8th inning. The Rangers 2, the Mariners 0. of our AT Twitter poll tonight. Refresh your memory. What do you enjoy most of the ballpark at Rangers Ballpark? 43%, almost an overwhelming majority, said Jim Knox. Tweeted in, then 38%. A close second was food. I think we had both those covered, didn't we, Tom?
Yeah, I think we did. I was all over Knoxy. And kid zone's probably pretty tough. There's not too many kids that are taking part in that, but that's okay.
Franklin Gutierrez, the top of the Mariner order here in the 8th inning, facing Tanner Shepard. Gutierrez tonight 0 for 3, 2 strikeouts and a flyout. And the pitch is a bit low. It's 2 balls and no strikes. Shepard came on in the 7th inning with the bases empty and 2 outs. Walked Montero, the first hitter he faced. Gave up a base hit to Dustin Ackley and then got Brendan Ryan on 3 quick pitches to end the inning. And Gutierrez does Shepard a little favor and swings at a questionable 2-0 pitch and fouls it away. It's 2-1. Shepard to the wind. The 2-1 pitch is out of play to the right. Tanner finding a way to get it back into the zone, and he has evened up the count. 6 total hits in this ballgame. 4 for Seattle, 2 for Texas. Both Ranger hits, though, have gone to the fans in fair territory. Into the hole by the dive of Elvis into left field, a base hit.
A good swing by Gutierrez. He ran the fastball kind of in on the inside part of the plate, and he turned on it well enough to get the good part of the bat on the ball. Drive it by Elvis into left field.
Now let's take a look at the Jimmy John's freaky fast delivery of the ball game. Back in the 3rd inning, Leonis Martin doing some magic, delivering that in a hurry in center field. A 1 on, nobody out, and Seager at the plate. Now time called as Tanner Shepard stayed too long in the stretch for Seager's liking. Seager 2 for 3, singled in the 1st, singled in the 6th. Has Gutierrez with good speed at first. And Shepard misses outside for ball 1. Seager 1 for 1 against Tanner Shepard. Right-hander's ready. And misses off the outside corner. It's 2 balls and no strikes.
Tough situation now. You got nobody out, man on, and Seager swinging the bat great, and he's ahead in the count. And definitely with a 2-run lead. Aren't in a position to pitch so carefully that you risk a walk. Got to throw him a strike right here.
And he missed outside with that. 3 balls and no strikes. Well, Shepard has thrown 21 pitches since he came into the ballgame. 11 balls and 10 strikes. He needs to come back with it here. That's down the middle. It's 3-1. Mike Maddox placed a call down to the bullpen, and apparently it was a collect call, and the charges were accepted. Out of play, and Shepard's able to come back from 3-0 and run the count full. Robbie Ross had been up earlier, and he is up now and loosening once again. Gutierrez at first. He led off with a base hit. Seager with a full count at the plate. Payoff pitch. Gutierrez on the move. It's ball 4. And there are 2 aboard with nobody out. And Kendrys Morales coming up. And Mike Maddox headed out to the mound with a purpose.
Dan Tanner's faced 5 batters. He's given up a couple of hits and 2 walks. Got the big strikeout to get out of the 7th inning. Struck out Brendan Ryan, but now he's got a couple of men on and nobody out. Got the middle of the order coming up here.
And while this meeting is taking place, let's go over to Jim Knox again. Jim.
All right, Buzz, real quick time for the progressive fan of the game. It has to be the most popular guy here in right field. Will McCoy from Arlington just got back from a tour in Afghanistan and serves in the Air Force. He's got to leave next week to go back overseas. Congratulations, Will. You just wanted to come and see your Rangers, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All I say is go USA, go Rangers.
There we go. Congratulations, Will. Keep up the great work. Appreciate it, buddy.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, Jim. Well, the conference concluded. Morales at the plate. First and second, nobody out. And the pitch to him, grounded to Beltre, could be 2. The tag is made there. The throw to first in time. The 5-3 double play as the lead runner Gutierrez was tagged by Beltre. Then the throw to first to complete the twin killing.
Not a very good at bat for Morales at all. After 2 men reached, swung at the first pitch he saw, and Tanner ran his fastball away from him, hit him right off the end of the bat. Rangers had a shift on. He hit it right straight to Beltre, who turns a double play. Good pitch by Tanner, and a big pitch by Tanner to get that double play in a critical situation.
That takes the tying run off base. Still have Seager at second base, but 2 outs now, and Michael Morse the hitter.
You mentioned earlier, Buzz, Seattle's been a little bit prone to the double play ball early in the season.
And that's 20 of them now that they've hit into this year so far, and this their 19th ball game. Morse 0 for 3 tonight. He's grounded into a double play. Takes the pitch off the plate inside. It's 2 balls and no strikes.
Well, Derek Lowe threw 31 pitches in 4 innings. Tanner's going to throw 28 pitches, trying to get out of an inning and a third.
Over the mound, Kinsler scoops it up on to first, and Tanner Shepard's able to squeak out of that with some pretty good pitching when it had to count. A double play and a ground out. Mariners leave a runner. We're going to the bottom of the 8th. Rangers 2, Mariners nothing on Fox Sports Southwest.
Heading into the bottom of the 8th, Dana Larson here, hoping you will join myself along with Mark McLemore for Rangers Live, presented by Esurance, the post-game show coming up here in just a bit. We hope to have an update on the injury sustained by Nick Tepesch, and also we will have reaction from the clubhouse as well as Ron Washington's post-game press conference. That is all coming up in just a short bit. Buzz?
All right, Dana, thank you. That's an interesting play as Leonis Martin gets a little pop fly over the mound, dragging a bunt, trying to drag a bunt. He's popped it right over Furbush's head into no man's land. It's going to be a base hit.
And everybody charging, so he just had a little drop shot right over the pitcher's head. Third baseman's in, the pitcher's coming in, the third baseman's coming in. Just chips it right over his head. Not what he was trying to do, but it looked nice.
Read the box score tomorrow, you can't tell what happened there exactly. You know that he just bunted his way aboard.
Yep.
And he also drove Charlie Furbush from the game. It's going to be Yoervis Medina coming on to take over. The right-hander will face Kinsler and Andrews in the top of the order. No pitching change underway here at Rangers Ballpark in Arlington. Rangers leading 2-0. We'll be right back on Fox Sports Southwest. Coming up on Thursday, May 2nd, Rangers are hosting the White Sox. It's a 7:05 game. Special tickets are available in a designated area, so you can bring your dog to the game, but advance registration is required. For complete details and to register, go to TexasRangers.com/barkinthepark.
Well, Buzz, you got speed on the bases and a guy that can handle the bat, a guy that can bunt. A lot of opportunities right here.
Well, that extra run here in the 8th inning would be a large run. And a 3-run lead late in the game, it changes everything. Jonas Martin driven back by Medina. Yoervis Medina, a 24-year-old from Venezuela. Big guy at 6'3". He's listed at 245. This is his first foray at the major league level. That pitch all the way to the backstop, so down to second goes Martin. Wild pitch, and Montero, the catcher, had no chance to do anything with that.
So now it's a little bit different. Rather than maybe a sacrifice to second base, now a sacrifice to third base. Puts that third run in scoring position with one out. See which way Ian wants to go. Try to hit a ground ball to the right side. Done that quite a bit and done it well this year. Or bunt it to third base.
No bunt. He takes it high.
Looked like he was thinking right field with that swing. And we've seen Ian have several base hits, including a home run to right field early in the season.
This is Medina's second major league appearance. In a bit of hot water here and misses wide. It's 3 balls and no strikes to Kinsler.
I can definitely get it up there, 96 miles an hour.
Eric Wedge, Carl Willis looking on from their perch in the third base dugout. Leonis Martin, the runner, at second. Ian Kinsler trying to at least advance him, if not bring him home. And the 3-0 pitch is wide, ball 4. That puts 2 on and nobody out for Elvis.
Well, this is a definite bunt situation for Elvis. At the middle of the order coming up after him. This guy's not a day at the beach to bunt against either. Yeah, 96 miles an hour. It hasn't located the strike zone yet.
You mean you wouldn't feel real comfortable having to square around with this guy on the mound?
Elvis might, but I wouldn't. I definitely wouldn't square around like they used to in the old days when you take your right foot and bring it, you know, square with the other foot. I'd stay in my stance the way they bunt nowadays for sure.
Time called as Jesus Montero, the catcher, wanted timeout. He didn't feel comfortable about what had been called.
They squared all the way around like that. You don't see anyone do that anymore. That's one of the most vulnerable positions to be in and that you could be in as a hitter.
Elvis around and tried to pull the bat back and bunted it foul. It's 0-1. Harry Cooper answering the question that Elvis posed to him. Probably, was that a strike? And he said, no, I don't think so. But since you bunted it foul, it was a strike. Martin getting the lead at the bottom of your screen at second base. Elvis again around a bunt and bunts it foul in the air. This one falls untouched. Well, Andrews now down in the count, 0-2. Well, we'll see if Ron Washington continues with the bunt. Elvis did this about 10 days ago and then got a base hit the other way. Wash making some mental notes as he goes through the sunflower seeds. 0-2 the count. 2 on and nobody out here in the 8th inning. Way inside all the way to the backstop, and it caroms 3/4 of the way to first base. Justin Smoke was watching and alertly came down to field that ball. If not, Leonis Martin probably would have scored.
That's one of the caroms that you can't predict. You've got that cement right behind home plate. It's a little closer to home plate now than it was last year. You really don't know what's going to happen when the ball goes back there. The Rangers have had 2 sacrifices in this inning. They both come from the pitcher. 2 wild pitches. Elvis not only ends up in the same position he wanted to be in the first place with men on second and third, but he's got a chance to drive one in himself rather than having given up and out.
When they scored that, a pass ball on Montero. Check swing on the breaking ball, and it's a bit low.
Pass ball?
Yeah, that was my reaction too. I think that might be overturned. Montero had about as much chance to catch that as
he could throw that 100 times. He's not going to catch that thing.
Now the 2-2. Fouled into and out of the glove of Montero, and that got a pretty good piece of Eric Cooper, the home plate umpire. So still 2-2. Mariners playing their infield just in front of halfway. Up the middle. And Ryan and Ackley waved out and missed, and Elvis gone on strikes. That is out number 1. It'll bring up Lance Berkman.
Designated hitter, Lance Berkman.
They got first base open and decision to make for the Mariners here. They walk Lance, set up a double play. Got the infield in. They're probably afraid to walk the bases loaded because they're not afraid that he could throw strikes to the next hitter.
Right.
Don't want to take a chance.
Berkman 0 for 2 tonight. Popped out, flied out, and walked. Ground ball, base hit to right field. Martin scores. Kinsler right behind him will score. And Lance Berkman a 2-run single. It is 4-0 Texans.
Well, that's what happens. You have to play the infield in if you're going to pitch to Berkman in a 2-0 game. But with the infield in, it's a lot easier to find a hole. Ackley is way in at second base. Lance just hit the ball on the ground, breaks straight to second base, but based on where Ackley was positioned, he can't get to this ball. Not a particularly hard hit ball, but boy, that was an effective two-run single right there.
And that is a huge base hit for Berkman. And he's going to be taken out of the ball game. Pitch runner Leury Garcia will come on. You get a look at that. Berkman sneaking it by the diving Ackley. So Leury Garcia, the pitch runner at first. Still just one out. Adrian Beltre, a big rip and a miss. It's 0-1. So the first run of the inning charged to Charlie Furbush. Jarvis Medina charged with the second run, and he's responsible also for Leury Garcia at first base. Beltre 0 for 3 tonight. A couple of flyouts and a strikeout. Garcia inching off. 1 ball, 1 strike. The count to Beltre. There goes Garcia, and the pitch is tapped foul off the end of Beltre's bat. So Leury having to go back to first base, and the count is 1-2. No way for Beltre to see it, but Leury had second base stolen. Maybe standing up, the jump he had. He's gone again, and the breaking ball is chopped out toward short. Ryan will make sure that Garcia is going to stay at second and fires on to first. That's out number 2. Well, Beltre grounds out. Now AT Brzezinski coming up. AJ 1 for 3. That solo home run in the 4th inning. Started the Rangers scoring tonight.
The fortunate inning for the Rangers. Martin tried to drag a bunt, popped it up, and it bounced behind the pitcher. A walk, a couple of wild pitches. Well, actually, a wild pitch and a pass ball.
Up the middle into center field, a base hit. Garcia steaming around third, score standing. And AJ Brzezinski with the RBI single. It is 5-0 Texas.
Wild pitch and a pass ball, then 2 ground balls to second base that went all the way through the infield, resulting in 3 runs batted in. Good night for AJ.
AJ getting the pitch down and away and able to rifle it right back through the middle. Now here's Nelly Cruz, who's 0 for 3. Breaking ball, he was getting out of the way, and that just came back to the inside corner.
Joe Nathan was up, and now with that 5th run scoring, Jason Frazier has jumped up. As you talked about this the other day, with 4 runs, he'd probably go with Joe. Now with the 5th run in, looks like he's going to switch to Jason.
Yeah, at home, that's Joe Nathan sitting back down. He's kind of washed his cutoff line, if you will. He said the reason he does that, even though it's not a safe situation, a 4-run lead, if you get a couple of guys on real quick, it's hard to get your closer up and loose in time to get into the game. He said, with a 4-run lead, I'd really go ahead and have the closer come out there and do whatever he's going to do, close the game out, hopefully, even though it's not a save. But it's at 5 runs now. You still need a few runners to get on base for it to be a critical situation. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Medina to the plate, and breaking ball called strike 3. Well, Nelly caught looking. The Rangers are gone, but they score 3 more times on 3 hits and strand 1. 9th inning coming up. Jason Frazier trying to close out a 5-0 Ranger lead. is brought to you by Ford. Take the EcoBoost Challenge at your Texas Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. By the wireless receiver only from AT&T Uverse. Visit AT&T.com/free-your-TV. Rethink possible. And by Progressive. Visit Progressive.com today. Now the Rangers with a run in the 7th and 3 more in the 8th have opened up a 5-0 lead. And Jason Frazier now on to see if he can close out what will be the Rangers' 2nd consecutive win. Something they haven't done in the last 9 ball games. They have alternated wins and losses. And Jason Frazier saying enough of that. Let's see if we can't close this thing out and make it 2 in a row. And they'd also pick up a game on the A's, who lost today. Justin Smoak leading things off, looks at strike 1. Smoak, the switch hitter, turning back around from the left side against the 35-year-old right-handed veteran Jason Frazier. One ball, one strike. Frazier worked in the Thursday game up in Wrigley. Smoak chops one foul. The count moves to a ball and 2 strikes. Well, the Rangers have pretty well shut down the Mariners, and the Mariners have not scored now since the 7th inning of the Thursday game that they played against Detroit. They scored 2 off of Justin Verlander and beat him 2-0. Since that 7th inning, they have not put any runs on the board. Rangers shut them out last night. They've gone through 8 innings here tonight of shutout baseball.
Yeah, the Rangers came into the game with the 2nd best ERA in the American League. 3rd fewest home runs, 4th fewest walks, .225 opponent's batting average, 4th in strikeouts. Pitching is off to a great start, and Rangers have needed good pitching to have the record they've got right now.
Mike Maddox has seen his troops take some shots as far as guys being lost, but they haven't missed many beats when they've been on the hill. Inside and low, and the count is filled now to Justin Smoak. Leading off the top of the 9th inning, he'll be followed by Jason Bay, the left fielder. Matt Harrison, one of the hits the Rangers have taken to their pitching staff. He'll be out. Call strike 3. Smoak dejectedly headed back to the Mariner dugout.
It looked like a pitch he wasn't looking for. Pitch on the inside corner of the plate. Looked like Jason was trying to throw it away, but it definitely caught the inside corner.
Yep. Well, it's not very often you get a pitch called a strike that you miss by the full width of the plate. Catcher set up outside, you throw it inside, and most umpires won't give you that in most certain situations, but Rangers will take that here. Now here's Jason Bay. Bay came on as a pinch hitter for Raul Ibanez and struck out in the 7th inning. Looks at that pitch from Frazier for a strike. It's 1-1. Good breaking ball. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Frazier has the sign he wants. And to the plate. Just outside and low. Two and two now. I think there's a little talent in that picture. International meeting, but a lot of talent That pitch just missed, and for the second straight hitter now, Jason Frazier has gone to a full count. Waiting in the on-deck circle, Jesus Montero. Payoff pitch, check swing, and he did not go around. That will go down as a one-out walk. So Bay able to check his swing. He is aboard. And it will bring up Montero with a man on and one out here in the ninth inning. AT&T letting you know that we'll be right back here tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock. Rangers and Mariners wrap things up. Rangers hopefully will be going for the 3-game sweep. It'll be Justin Grimm and Aaron Harang. Harang just added to the Mariners starting rotation. Montero takes a strike on the outside corner. And Joe Nathan, just in case, getting up. Mariners would have to have 2 more base runners to be in a save situation. A rip and a miss. And it's 0-2 now to Montero. Montero walked his last time to the plate, as you see. 1 for 2, and that one is the base hit that knocked Nick Tepish out of the ball game tonight. Weakly hit towards short. Elvis Bigby out at first. That is number 2, and into second base goes Jason Bay. He will be there for Dustin Ackley.
After 7 1/3 from the bullpen tonight, Justin Grimm on the mound tomorrow. Be a great day for Justin to tune up a nice one and go 6 or 7 innings.
Yes, it would. Crowd of a little over 43,000, 43,025 to be exact, cheering for their hometown Rangers. We get this one in the books and get to within half a game of first place in the American League West and secure their 4th series victory of the year with no losses. They've had 2 splits. They have not lost a series. First pitch way outside. That one a breaking ball that appeared to slip out of the hand of Jason Frazier.
And the A's got beat tonight. They lost 1-0 in Tampa Bay. So if the Rangers hang on and win this game, they'll only be a half a game behind the A's. These would be 12-6, 6-6 against everybody else, 6-0 against Houston.
There's a strike to the outside corner. Ackley a base hit in 3 trips to the plate. Hits are even at 5 in this ball game. Jason Frazier trying to close it out. And the right-hander is ready. Out of play to the left. It is 1-2. So the Mariners now down to their last strike. Many in the crowd standing. Weather's starting to warm up. Crowds are growing, and they are getting enthusiastic. The 1-2 pitch in the dirt. Brzezinski, nice job to keep that near home plate and prevent Bay from advancing 90 feet. That evens the count at 2-2. Frazier studying the signs. Nods in agreement, comes set. The 2-2 pitch. Swung on and missed. He got him. And the ball game is over. The Rangers have made it 2 in a row. And they have won their 4th series of the year as Frazier closes out the Mariners. The final 5-0 here tonight. Back-to-back shutouts. something the Rangers did in the opening series of the year down in Houston. And their 4th shutout of the year as they blanked the Mariners on 5 hits tonight. AJ Pierzynski and David Murphy with solo home runs. And then the Rangers got everything they needed in that 8th inning as Lance Berkman, a big 2-run single, to put the icing on the cake. So 5-0 here tonight after a 7-0 whitewashing in last night's ball game.
Yeah, just a terrific job of relief by Derek Lowe. One of the better relief outings you'll see. He pitched 4 innings coming in for Nick Tepesch and threw 31 pitches. Had the sinker ball working tonight. A lot of weak ground balls. A great job. Derek gets his first win. And Jason Frazier with a changeup, swing and a miss to end the game. He strikes out a couple. Makes Ron Washington happy. The customary winner's hug with Jackie Moore. Handshakes all around. David Murphy went deep. Hugs for the outfielders. There's a new routine every day. You have to watch to keep track of what's going on down there.
Yeah, make sure you're writing these down so you don't want to have to repeat anything.
So great, good game to win right here.
And they've got the Mariners now going on 20 scoreless innings in a row.
Maybe the biggest pitch of the day was the pitch that Tanner Scheppers threw to Kendrys Morales after a hit and a walk in a 2-0 game. Nobody out in the 8th inning. He threw that tailing fastball, got Morales to hit the ground ball to third that Adrian turned into a double play. That was a big part of the ball game, and big pitch by Tanner after getting off to a little bit of a tough start there in the 8th inning.
Yeah, some critical work early in the ball game too, and Nick Tepesch, don't want to lose sight of what he was able to do, and we'll talk a little more about Nick Tepesch both tonight and tomorrow, and hopefully the reevaluation tomorrow will come back as favorable as what we heard tonight. Let's go down to Emily Jones, who has a very happy AJ Pierzynski standing by. Emily?
Thank you very much. Well, AJ, first of all, talk about the performance of you behind the plate and also the pitching staff tonight.
Oh, it was great. I mean, Derek Lowe obviously deserves a ton of credit. The whole pitching staff does. But Derek Lowe to come out the way he did after poor Nick got hit in the wrist and to give us the innings he gave us, especially after just a day before, and he threw 3 or 4 innings, and now to come out and do it again and just hold him down because we weren't swinging the bats very well and we didn't have any runs or any even hits on the board. So he deserves all the credit for doing that and giving us a chance.
So efficient for him, 31 pitches, 4 innings. It had to be impressive for you to catch.
Absolutely. The thing is that, like I said, he just threw, 3 or 4 innings a day ago. So for him to come back out and not complain, take the ball, and give us, the umpire was like, hey, is he tired after 31 pitches? I'm like, no, but he just threw 3 2/3 or whatever it was a day ago. So it was a great job by Derek.
Finally ask about the home run for you. How'd that one feel coming off the bat?
Oh, it was good. I thought I really hit it far, and it barely went out. So I'm thankful for the guy in center field that kind of took it out of Gutierrez's glove because it would have been a Gary Matthews type catch, I think. But, I'm happy it went out. I'm happy Murph got a home run. And I'm also happy in the 9th inning we scored some runs to kind of give us some breathing room.
Another shutout for you guys. Congratulations on the win, AJ. We appreciate it. We'll send it back up to you guys.
All right, Emily, thank you very much. Well, the Rangers back-to-back shutouts. This one, a 5-0 whitewashing of the Seattle Mariners. Well, the crowd of 43,025 filing out of Rangers Ballpark in Arlington. We'll be back here tomorrow afternoon and see the finale of this 3-game set. 5-0 the final. Dana Larson and Mark McLemore coming up with Rangers Live right after this from the Captain Morgan Club.